Hello and thank you for watching. This is STSC celebrating LEGO's 90th anniversary with LEGO Transformers Neptune. For this year's Allspark Assembly, we've decided to celebrate LEGO's 90th anniversary by making LEGO Transformers based off of some of our favorite LEGO themes. Besides Bionicle and Star Wars, Atlantis is easily the theme I had the most sets of as a kid. The Neptune sub was probably the biggest LEGO set I had ever gotten, and I remember feeling really guilty when I slowly disassembled it for its pieces. So while this is not specifically a transforming version of the Neptune sub, it did draw some major inspiration from it, so I decided to make it his namesake. Taking a closer look at the sub, you can see I've used some Speed Champions rims for the propellers. Honestly, I would have preferred to just use the smaller propellers they used in some of the Atlantis sets, but unfortunately it seems I've misplaced all but one of them, so I had to settle for these. A fun little tidbit is that I've actually used some Bow-Rock eyes for the shaping here. Those do play into the transformation, but I think it's kind of a fun callback to the fact that Atlantis actually did use a fair amount of Technic pieces to get these kind of compound curved shapes. To this day, I love the Atlantis color scheme, and I think the bright green cockpit just pops so well against the red sub. Unfortunately, Neptune doesn't quite balance on his own, so he does need a little stand piece on the back here. Without that, he kind of just topples over like that. For a size comparison, here we have a minifigure, and here we have Tyrant. That's all there is to say about Neptune in his sub-mode, so now it's time to transform. Here we have Neptune in his robot mode, and I have to say I really love how he looks. He's got this really chunky, almost fat look to him, and I just love seeing Transformers with less conventional body types. Of course, you'll notice that the Bow-Rock eyes have formed little crab claws in this mode, and I think that's honestly my favorite part of the figure. It's the first thing I came up with, and it's what really got the ball rolling for this build. Taking a look from behind, you can see that the two propeller pods end up on his back. I really like this orientation, though I'm not hugely fond of how they attach to the sides of his head. I think it can look kind of awkward depending on how you pose it, and it sort of looks like he's got gigantic pigtails or something. It was totally unintentional, but with this guy's mono-eye, claw hands, and digitigrade legs, he kind of looks like an aquatic version of Whirl. For articulation, Neptune's arms are on ball joints, and they have a pretty free range, allowing for a fair bit of articulation. Then his lower arm is on a hinge like this. Of course, you could pose his arm kind of like this to lengthen it, but I think it looks a lot better when you bring it up like this to create a more obvious shoulder pad. And the aforementioned claws can pinch together. Unfortunately, Neptune's legs can only really swing outward. There's no forward and backward movement, which makes this knee joint kind of useless. While Neptune's robot mode may not have the most articulation, I think it more than makes up for it with how cool it looks. This mode has a lot of character to it, and as I've mentioned before, that's what I tend to prioritize when designing OCs. Of course, I'm sure it also helps that it awakens my Atlantis nostalgia. But that's all I have to say for now, so I'll see you next time.